She sat alone at the far end of the wedding feast, a single sapphire jewel in a sea of glittering gowns, invisible to everyone around her. Laughter rang through the hall, clinking glasses and whispered conversations filling the golden-lit room, yet no one noticed her. Every smile that passed, every nod or glance, seemed meant for someone else, leaving her with the hollow ache of solitude. She traced the rim of her glass absent-mindedly, pretending to sip, pretending she belonged. Then the doors at the far end of the hall burst open. Silence fell. All eyes turned toward a figure who seemed larger than life, taller, broader, exuding a presence that made the chandeliers tremble with reflected light. The Lycan King had arrived. His silver hair gleamed under the golden chandeliers, and his amber eyes swept the hall, sharp and unyielding, and then they locked onto her. He strode toward her with a purpose that made the air itself seem to shift. Every heartbeat thundered in her chest. She had been invisible all her life, and yet in that moment she was seen. His deep voice rumbled like distant thunder. "Act like you're with me," and just like that everything changed. The grand hall shimmered with golden candlelight, reflecting off the crystal chandeliers that hung like frozen stars. Laughter and clinking glasses filled the air, yet to Leora it was a hollow symphony. She sat alone at the far end of the long oak table, her delicate hands folded neatly in her lap, her sapphire gown a stark contrast against the sea of ivory and ruby fabrics worn by others. Every pair of eyes seemed to dance past her, never lingering, as if she were invisible. The wedding feast was in full swing, an extravagant celebration of wealth, power, and unions of high-born families. Leora had been dragged here by her distant cousin, though the invitation had barely been hers to begin with. Among the dancers and jesters, the laughter of her relatives only made her solitude sharper. She traced the rim of her glass absently, pretending to sip the sparkling wine, while her mind wandered. "Why do I even bother coming to these events?" she thought bitterly. "I'm not wanted here, never noticed, always the outsider." The doors at the far end of the hall suddenly swung open with a thunderous crash. A hush fell over the crowd as a figure stepped into the light. Tall and possibly broad, and exuding a presence that seemed to bend the air itself, he scanned the room. His silver hair caught the candlelight, and his amber eyes glowed faintly in the dim. The murmurs began. The Lycan King had arrived. Whispers of fear and awe rippled through the hall. No one dared approach him, no one except for those chosen or cursed, with the ability to see beyond his dominance. And then his gaze fell upon her. Leora froze as if time itself had stopped. The warmth of the hall felt distant. The chatter faded to a murmur, and all she could see was the Giant Lycan King, striding toward her with purpose. Every heartbeat thundered in her chest. He reached her table and knelt slightly, not in submission, but in acknowledgement of the distance between them. The crowd was silent. Then he leaned closer, and his deep, commanding voice rumbled like distant thunder. "Act like you're with me." Her mind reeled. What? But the command was not a question. It was an assertion, a law of its own. All eyes turned to them as he extended a massive hand toward her. She felt every pulse of his energy, every ounce of power, and yet it was strangely protective, like a shield in a world that had ignored her for too long. She hesitated, her cheeks flushing. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, to hide in her insignificance. But something in his eyes, something in the way the hall seemed to bow to his presence, held her in place. Slowly, almost trembling, she placed her hand in his. The crowd erupted in speculation, whispers, and shock. Who was this girl, sitting alone? And why had the Lycan King chosen her? For the first time that night, Leora felt a spark, a whisper of belonging, dangerous yet intoxicating. She slid in to step beside him as if guided by an invisible current, letting him lead her through the hall. As they moved together, she felt the heat of his body, the confidence of his stride, and the raw, magnetic power that surrounded him. Each glance he gave her was sharp, assessing, yet tinged with a strange curiosity. She felt exposed, yet protected, terrified, yet thrillingly alive. The feast continued around them, but Leora no longer felt invisible. For the first time, she was seen, and not just seen, but chosen. The Lycan King leaned slightly, his breath brushing her ear, and murmured, almost like a promise, "Tonight no one will forget you." And she knew something in her life had just shifted forever. The grand hall's laughter and music faded into a blur as the Lycan King guided Lyora through a hidden door at the far side of the banquet hall. The warm, golden light of the chandeliers gave way to the soft, flickering glow of lanterns along a narrow corridor. The faint scent of jasmine and cedar followed him, intoxicating and strange. "Where are we going?" Lyora's voice trembled slightly, betraying her nervousness. Her hand still rested in his massive palm, and the contrast of their sizes made her feel simultaneously protected and thrillingly exposed. "To a place where no one can judge you," he replied, his voice low, a deep timbre that seemed to echo in the very walls. "Where you can be yourself, even if you don't know who that is yet." He opened a heavy oak door, and she blinked. Beyond lay a private chamber, lavish yet intimate. Candlelight danced across the walls, illuminating tapestries depicting centuries of Lycan history. The air was warm, scented with sandalwood and something wild, earthy, untamed, undeniably him. Lyora swallowed, feeling both awe and apprehension. "Why am I here? Why me?" He gestured to a chair near the fire. "Sit." She hesitated, then obeyed, feeling the heat from the hearth seep through the fabric of her gown. He remained standing, a looming shadow by the firelight, watching her with piercing amber eyes. "You sat alone at the feast," he said quietly, almost accusingly, "and yet you carried yourself with a dignity few could muster. Most would have slunk away, humiliated by the eyes of those who despise them. You did not." Lyora's throat tightened. She wasn't used to compliments, especially not from someone who radiated power like him. I don't know why you chose me," she admitted softly, her voice barely above a whisper. He took a step closer, and the air between them seemed to hum. "Because you are different. You feel alone, yet you do not crumble. You hide, yet there is a spark in you that refuses to be ignored." "I notice sparks. I recognize them." Her heart thudded violently. The intensity in his gaze was overwhelming, yet it wasn't cruel. It was hungry in a way that sent shivers down her spine, a hunger not just for her body, but for something deeper, her trust, her essence, her soul. You intimidate me," she whispered. A slow, almost imperceptible smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. "Good," he said, leaning slightly closer, the firelight glinting in his eyes. "Fear sharpens senses. It tells me you are alive, aware, awake." Lyora's breath hitched as the proximity of his enormous form pressed around her. She felt small, fragile, yet simultaneously significant, chosen in a way she had never been before. He crouched, bringing himself closer to her eye level. "There is a world behind these walls," he murmured, voice thick with promise. "A world of power, of danger, of pleasure. You will see it, but only if you trust me. Only if you step forward without fear." Her pulse raced, her instinct screamed caution, yet another part, a part she didn't fully understand, urged her to lean in, to follow him into the unknown. For the first time in her life, Lyora felt the dizzying mix of fear and desire, raw, consuming, and intoxicating. The Lycan King extended his hand again. "Will you follow me?" She paused, staring into those fierce amber eyes, feeling the weight of his presence like a gravitational pull. Then, trembling but resolute, she placed her hand in his once more. "Yes," she whispered. A grin, slow and predatory, curved across his face. "Good," he said. "Then let me show you the world you've been invisible to, and the one that's been waiting for you all along." The corridor beyond the chamber was narrower, darker, lit only by torches embedded in the stone walls. Each step Lyora took beside him felt like a step further away from the world she had known, and deeper into the unknown. The Lycan King walked with an effortless grace, his massive frame silent despite its size. The scent of him, wild, earthy, and compelling, clung to her, filling her senses and making her pulse race. "Where are we going now?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper, though her heart hammered in her chest. "To where you can feel alive," he replied. "To a place where you are not judged, where you are free, though freedom often comes at a cost." Lyora's curiosity wrestled with her fear. What kind of place is this? The air felt charged, electric. Every shadow seemed alive, every sound heightened. And yet, she trusted him, more than she had trusted anyone in her life. They emerged into a vast courtyard, open to the night sky. Moonlight spilled across the stone floor, silver and serene, contrasting with the heat that radiated from him. His amber eyes glimmered in the darkness, and for a moment, Leora felt like she was staring into the core of something ancient, powerful, and unknowable. "Do you feel it?" he asked, his voice low, almost a growl. "The pulse of the land, the stir of the pack, the rhythm of the wild." She nodded, though the truth was she felt more his presence than anything else. His power was overwhelming, intoxicating, like standing too close to fire and not wanting to move away. He stepped closer, and instinctively, she stepped back, only to find herself against the cold stone wall. He was too fast, too silent, yet there was no threat in his stance, only inevitability. "You are not like the others," he murmured, his eyes locking with hers. "Others see you and dismiss you, but I see what you could be. What you are." Leora's chest tightened. "And what am I?" A slow smile tugged at his lips, more than they could ever imagine. "Stronger, braver, alive in ways they will never understand, and tonight you will see it too." Before she could respond, he shifted subtly, but the air around him seemed to change. The faint scent of wolf fur and wild forest drifted around her. She could feel it now, the latent power in his veins, the wolf within the man. Her pulse quickened. She was not afraid exactly, not yet, but every nerve in her body screamed in awe. "Tonight," he said, "you will learn what it means to walk between worlds, to be seen, to be chosen, to be mine." Leora's breath caught. The words were intoxicating, dangerous, forbidden, and yet she felt an undeniable pull, a thrill she couldn't resist. The Lycan King's hand brushed hers, light, teasing, and the heat of his touch seared through her. You can't just take me into this world," she whispered, heart pounding. He tilted his head, studying her, amber eyes gleaming. "I am not asking permission, little one. I am showing you the world that has been waiting for you. You may run from it, or you may step fully into it." She met his gaze, and for the first time, Leora felt the stirrings of something she had never known: power, desire, and belonging, all wrapped into one impossible, dangerous promise. And then he shifted fully, the wolf within roaring to life, coiling around his human form. She stumbled back, heart racing, yet fascination rooted her to the spot. He was terrifying, magnificent, unstoppable, and somehow he had chosen her to witness it, to be part of it. "Are you afraid?" he asked, voice a blend of human and beast. She shook her head, a strange, trembling smile on her lips. "No, I'm alive." A growl, low and satisfied, rumbled from him. "Good. Then let us begin." The night stretched before them, full of danger, mystery, and undeniable passion. And Leora knew, with every heartbeat, that she would never be the same again. The night air wrapped around them like a silken shroud, crisp and wild. Leora followed the Lycan King across the moonlit courtyard, her heartbeat hammering not just from the cool air, but from the sheer presence of the giant beside her. Every step he took seemed to echo through the stone walls, and the scent of the wild, wolf, forest, earth, filled her senses so completely that she felt dizzy with it. He led her to a hidden grove just beyond the castle walls. Trees arched overhead, their branches forming a cathedral of shadows. The moonlight pierced through the leaves in thin silver beams, spotlighting the space like it had been prepared for this very night. The grove was silent except for the gentle rustle of leaves and the low, resonant rumble of his voice. "Do you understand now?" he asked, stopping beneath the largest oak, amber eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "Do you feel the life here, the power, the danger, the truth?" Leora's chest rose and fell rapidly. I think so. It's overwhelming," she admitted, her voice barely audible, trembling between awe and fear. "Good," he said softly, stepping closer. "You need to understand what it means to belong to me, to walk beside me, to feel the strength I offer, and the responsibility that comes with it." His hand brushed her arm. The touch was gentle, almost tentative, but it sent a shiver through her entire body. She realized she was trembling, not from fear, but from the force of his presence, the raw intensity of the connection he offered. "Tonight," he murmured, voice low and intoxicating, "you are no longer just the girl sitting alone at a wedding feast. You are mine, and the world will learn it whether they wish to or not." Leora's eyes widened. "Yours. But why me?" His gaze softened, yet it held the unyielding dominance of a king. "Because you dare to exist with dignity, even when invisible. Because you have a fire within that refuses to die. Because, Leora, I see you. All of you, and I choose you." Her chest tightened at the weight of his words, and for the first time in her life, she didn't feel small or insignificant. She felt seen, powerful in her own right, desired, important. He lowered himself slightly, his amber eyes locking with hers. "Do you trust me?" She swallowed hard. I think I do," she whispered, her voice shaking. A slow, predatory smile curved his lips. "Good, then feel this." Before she could respond, he shifted subtly, his form shimmering with the raw, primal energy of the wolf within. She could feel it coil around him, the power restrained but undeniable. Her breath hitched. She was staring at a force of nature, dangerous, magnificent, impossible to resist. He stepped close enough that their bodies almost brushed. "I will protect you," he said, voice barely above a growl. "But you must be mine fully, without doubt. Only then can you understand the life you were meant to lead. Only then can you truly be alive." Leora's hands rose instinctively, brushing against his chest, feeling the taut muscle beneath his coat. She realized she was trembling again, not from fear, but from the magnitude of what was happening. She had never felt so drawn, so helplessly connected to another being, yet never so safe. "You're terrifying," she whispered, her voice quivering. "And yet," he murmured, leaning closer so that his breath mingled with hers, "you are alive for the first time. That is why I claimed you." The forest around them seemed to pulse with his power, the night itself bowing to his presence. Leora felt the pull, the undeniable force of being chosen by the Lycan King. Her pulse matched his, her breath shallow and quick. She knew in her heart that nothing would ever be the same. He held her gaze a moment longer, then murmured, "Come, walk with me into the night, into the world that has been waiting for you. Let me show you what it means to be my mate." And as he extended his hand again, Leora felt the final hesitation within her shatter. She placed her hand in his, letting him lead her into the unknown, into a life of danger, desire, and undeniable passion. The night stretched before them, alive with possibility, and for the first time she felt completely, irrevocably his.